Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pokemon's first main series trek into the world of at-home console gaming, and also another step in its mobile gaming expedition at the same time. And while not a perfect game as the internet in 2019 would have told you, this entry into Game Freak's greatest game series has made some excellent strides in establishing itself as the 8th generation of Pokemon. And while it's often easier to look at the bad and criticize the game for its faults and shortcomings, today I'm choosing the high road and taking a gander at some of the good Sword and Shield has to offer. 5 specific things to be precise. Also, I will be the first person to admit to you that when making a list like this, it is practically filled with subjectivity, but as with all things, value is only seen through the eyes of the beholder, so I'm the beholder, you can see the value through my eyes hopefully. That said, if you disagree or would like to have a friendly conversation about any of the points I'm looking to make in this video, I would encourage you to leave some comments down below. And hey, while you're headed down that way, it would help me out a ton if you consider leaving the video a like, and maybe even consider subscribing for more videos like this in the future. With all the intro stuff out of the way, let's get started. Number 1, the main story and characters. Kicking us off, I'd like to say a quick bravo to Game Freak for the story in this game. As for the first time since Diamond and Pearl, I was able to feel really invested in a main tale being told to us as players. I know some black and white fans may disagree with that one, but those games just weren't for me. However, Sword and Shield wove a tale of fun characters with unique designs, which I'll gush over for a few minutes right now. Sirs, our rival in that game, Hop, has one of the most interesting character arcs in the whole of the Pokemon series. As the younger brother of the region's champion, he's bound to have massive shoes to fill, as well as loads of determination to see himself be crowned champion as well. It's very hard for me to simply explain why I like Hop beyond the fact that he is the first rival in forever that not only has a formidable team, but also has realistic and understandable convictions for why he wants to become a champion. One of the reasons why I probably like him is the fact that he's shown throughout the game to have trouble defeating people that aren't just us. He loses to Pete for one, and following that he even loses the gym challenge in Sir Chester Stadium. Arguably, Hop is relatable because of how he responds to these things. He gets frustrated, mad, and ultimately attempts to overcome his shortcomings as a means to become a better trainer. Beyond him though, the rest of the cast are pretty dope, with Marnie and Bede filling out additional rival slots, sort of. And of course, as the king of all trainers in Galar, we have Leon. However, I plan on talking about him a bit more in depth later on. So moving on from the Pokepeeps of this game, the story in which these characters play their parts is one that draws me in as well. The main part of which recounts an ancient tale of 2 great heroes from the past saving Galar from utter destruction. That destruction's name being Eternatus, and the heroes in this turn of events being the player character and Hop. Overall, it's pretty baseline for Pokemon standards, but the primary reason I like this particular story so much is Chairman Rose, who sought to release Eternatus as a means to prevent the projected Galarian energy crisis by using the legendary Pokemon's power to fuel Galar for the next millennia. It's not just for some evil scheme, it's not to take over the world, it's just to save the region. And while misguided, I can't help but empathize with Rose, if only for the fact that he was looking for a solution to a massive problem. And well, he would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for those meddling kids and that Charizard. Speaking of Charizard, we should probably move on to number 2, which features his trainer. Number 2, the Champion and Champion's Cup. Leon, for all intents and purposes, may in fact be my personal favorite Pokemon champion in the entire game series. Conversely to other champions, he's built up as his ultimate endgame threat, which we really haven't seen since Cynthia. As throughout the story, we're exposed to his legendary undefeated streak, which he has held since he began his journey as a trainer all those years ago. And to show his mastery as a trainer, one nice touch that I really like about him is that he ends up taking the Pokemon left unchosen by both you and Hop and makes it a part of his team. So by this logic, he's already the best trainer in the entire region and he shouldn't need anything new on his team, but he still chooses that third Pokemon. I also really enjoy how he as a champion is really intertwined with the affairs of Galar. We've seen this sort of thing previously with Lance and Cynthia for example, but with Leon he seems like a constant in the story because of it. That main story though of course culminates in the Champions Cup, which you can say is good or you can say is bad depending on your preference. However, I personally find that this change up from the Elite Four was something that I hoped that Pokemon would do since I was just a little kid. When I think of the Pokemon League, I think back to watching the anime on TV as a kid, and back then it was a proper tournament to decide who would become the champion of whatever region. So when I played the game and I was met by the Elite Four instead, I was a bit confused to say the least. Not that I think the Elite Four are a bad thing necessarily. In fact, the Elite Four of most other Pokemon titles fill out some of my favorite Pokemon trainers in the series, such as Lorelei, Phoebe, and Flint, just to name a few. However, back to me praising the Champions Cup, I think battling through several of the gym leaders, rivals, and ultimately the region's champion was definitely a good move for Galar. Speaking of good moves, let me max strike the number 3 spot. Number 3, Dynamaxing, aka just better balanced Megas. Mega Evolutions may have been the single most controversial thing that Game Freak has ever done with the series. On one hand, you make certain Pokemon much more viable, such as Lopunny for example, or maybe you give another Pokemon a phenomenal design in its Mega form, which uptakes its lovability as a mon like Charizard or Mawile. On the other hand, some Pokemon that were already extremely good became outright busted, such as Alakazam and Gengar, and some of those who could have used a Mega simply just never got one as well. Rest in peace Mega Flygon, gone but never forgotten. However, Dynamaxing in Pokemon Sword and Shield essentially took the majority of issues people took with Megas and buffed them out and balanced it as a function. Every single Pokemon can Dynamax, which is extremely nice as this provides a 50% buff to a Pokemon's HP, while simultaneously making all of its active moves into max moves, which are assigned according to each individual move's type. However, beyond Dynamaxing, there is a form even further beyond, that being Gigantamaxing, which is only available to a select and somewhat short list of Pokemon. In addition to them being able to use max moves, they also gain a select move specific to their species, with Pikachu's being G-Max Volt Crash. Oh, and did I mention that they get their own custom forms? Look at that Pikachu! I love him so much, bro. Seriously though, all these forms are super cool, and I wish that every fully evolved Pokemon got a Gigantamax form. And by the way, I find it to be highway robbery that Tentacruel didn't get a Gigantamax after it took out that city in the anime. Sincerely, these Pokemon forms are great because they don't outright break a mon and rather just add a variable to competitive battles, which would keep you guessing as to what Pokemon would either Dyna or Gigantamax. Speaking of variables, we're going to move on to number 4, which is continuing the trend of regional variants with Galarian forms. Pokemon Sun and Moon, to me personally, is among my least favorite entries to the series as a whole. The anime surprisingly made me like this generation a lot more than the games did, but if there's one thing I love more than anything else in this generation, it's the introduction of regional variants. Alolan Pokemon were something I found so endearing as it gave some Pokemon phenomenal cosmetic redesigns, such as Alolan Raichu, and even gave others stat and typing redesigns like Alolan Ninetales. I liked it so much that it was something I was genuinely terrified that they wouldn't bring back in the next generation. But thankfully we received more regional forms with Galar. And by the looks of Pokemon Legends Arceus, it looks like we're going to continue getting more and more regional forms. The great thing about these is that if you, let's say, prefer the original form of Weezing for example, you can still have it. But if you find the Galarian form to be half as funny haha as I do, then you Doug Dimma don't have to worry about getting your hands on one of them. And they even continued in the DLC, and I can't adequately express how much I love the variants of the legendary bird trio, which were released in the latest DLC, the Crown Tundra. And speaking of DLC, number 5, DLC replacing a third game. The age of a definitive edition for Pokemon games is over. Far gone are the days of buying a better Pokemon game a few years after the original version releases, and to beckon this new age, we have Pokemon Sword and Shield. And boy howdy, let me tell you, this change is long overdue. Pokemon have been able to implement DLC as far back as Generation 6 with relative ease, but instead they planned for Pokemon Z, which funnily enough never released, and in Generation 7 we got Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. In my opinion, it's immensely lame that we got these additions as recently as we have, but hey ho, at least modern Pokemon is choosing to let DLC be the new wave going forward. And I know some people have qualms about DLC in general and see it as a means for devs not to release a game's full edition in the first place. However, if you even attempt to make a similar claim about Pokemon, then I'm really not sure what to tell you. For the past 20 whatever years, we've had to buy multiple games just to complete the series' tagline task of gotta catch 'em all. Oh, sorry Timmy, you bought Pokemon Sun, you can't catch all the Pokemon in Alola. You need to go buy Moon and then trade over it. It's the dumbest thing, I'll never get over it. However, at least the advent of DLC eliminates the need to purchase that third title, which ultimately has felt obsolete for way too many years to be okay. And, well, those are just 5 things I feel Pokemon Sword and Shield did right. Beyond that, there are ample other reasons I could have talked about, such as the wild area just being a thing, the cosmetic changes with the player having more customization than ever, heck, even if I talked about the fact of how much I love their attention to providing accurate dialogue to the region's inspiration of Scotland. However, I hope that the reasons provided served as a solid reminder to look at when you cast your mind back to those 2019 autumn days of when Sword and Shield first released. I know we all have a mixed bag of memories about those times, but I still think these games are a beacon of hope that the franchise will be moving in the right direction once again. Now, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think Pokemon Sword and Shield did right? Let me know in the comments down below. And hey, while you're headed down that way, it would help the channel out a ton if you consider leaving the video a like and maybe subscribe if you want to see more from me in the future. Anyways, for this video at least, I think I'm gonna dip. As always, I hope you stay safe and be bold, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.